Ever since, all I can think is how I'd give it up to have a mortal life again. Have a family, grow old.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I can become human again, Piper.
Listen. I know y'all already booing at the title, but put your pitchforks away. And I know y'all have them out because even my own best friend Mark was going to knife me when I casually said to him that I didn't have the time to make a video about something like how Piper and Leo's relationship was trash. And this gasped. Then when he finally picked up his jaw, he said to me, "You don't like Leo and Piper?" To which I replied, "It's not that I don't like them. It's that their relationship itself was ass, filled with nothing but trials and tribulations, which is the fault of the writers who clearly hated them with all of their heart because they never let them know peace. The universe and the charmed writer's room wanted them to break up so bad, they made it so their offspring might destroy the universe. Tell me you don't think two people should be procreating without telling me." And my friend replied, what do you mean? Okay, I mean, first they couldn't be together. I said, stop right there. Stop right there. It's literally in front of your eyes. Leo and Piper loved each other, and I loved rooting for them just as much as every Charmed fan when I was younger. But whenever I rewatch Charmed, I start getting exhausted at the amount of unnecessary bullshit Piper and Leo go through to be together, only to never really get much time together that's not interrupted by pain, suffering, and demons. And I've come to the conclusion that Piper and Leo are the perfect example of when the love is there, but the love just ain't enough to make the relationship worth it. Believe it or not, you should enjoy your relationships. And there was very little joy in Leo and Piper's relationship, through mostly no fault of their own. Again, the writers, but them still the facts. Piper and Leo were rarely together, and when they were together, if one of them wasn't about to die, they were fighting with each other nonstop. And I cannot walk you through every piece of trash and the absolute mountain of shit Piper and Leo had to deal with, but I can give you some of the major shit they constantly had thrown their way. So without further ado, here is why Piper and Leo's magical struggle love was not worth the trouble. Piper and Leo were stressed the out trying to be together in every single chapter of their relationship, beginning, middle, and end, before the marriage, during the marriage, before children, after children, in the present, in the future, in the past. Piper Halliwell is a witch and Leo is a white lighter, a magical being who heals, and they meet because unbeknownst to Piper and her sisters, Prue and Phoebe, Leo, who they had believed to be their human handyman, was actually their white lighter, sworn to protect them with his life, and absolutely not allowed to date them, which becomes the fundamental core problem of Piper and Leo. They are not allowed to be together because the magical governing board they obey, called the Elders, forbids it. But even before the Elders forbid Piper and Leo's romance, their shit was already rocky. First, they wouldn't even tell each other how they felt. It wasn't until Leo almost dies, so Piper swaps powers with him to try to heal him, but couldn't figure out how to use his powers till she admits she loved him and then the powers activated. But is that the beginning of a wonderful life together? No, it's not. Because even though Leo was the white lighter for the oh so important and powerful Charmed ones, they're apparently not so important that the Elders don't see fit to give him an entire roster of other witches to serve. So this Leo was always bouncing in and out of their life to help his other clients. So Piper barely sees him. And as if this basically long distance relationship between Leo, Piper, and the heavens isn't hard enough, once the Elders figure out they're together, they straight up recall this Leo to the sky, leaving Piper heartbroken, but not so heartbroken that she can't move on to the fine next door, Dan. And let me tell y'all right now, I love Leo just like the rest of y'all, and he was very cute in his own right. But baby, justice for Dan. This was a face, and all that man wanted to do was love Piper and have a nice little normal life, which in truth is what Piper truly wanted. Although whether she would have ever been able to have it even if she chose Dan is unlikely. But I do think it may have been better with Dan, but we will get back to that. So Piper and Dan are together being cute when Leo comes back to continue their will they won't they dance. Then it's Piper's turn to almost die. So she manages to contract a deadly disease, and because the Elders never make any sense, they don't want Leo, the they put in charge of protecting her, to save her, because, let me check my notes, it was a human disease, not a magical one that was could kill her. Whoa, listen to me. The Elders ain't never had a rule that made no sense, and I put that on everything. I lie, except maybe white lighters and witches shouldn't date. Because obviously, I mean, look at Piper and Leo. But Leo obviously can't let Piper die, so he heals her. And do you know what the prize is for saving the life of one of the very important Charmed ones that he was charged to protect, because we need the Charmed ones to save the universe? You know what the prize? They clip his wings. So now this Leo is human. So he goes from being a powerful magical being to a brokey hanging around Piper's home and club overnight because he has nowhere else to live and he has no money that he now needs as a mortal in the real world. So she has to hire him to work at her club. Child, strife. So now Leo has an up close look at Piper and Dan, and what does he do? Dirty Mac, Mr. Steal Your Girl ass, eventually gets Piper back. And let the record reflect that these dirty wizards started creeping around before Piper officially broke up with Dan anyway. And please know, Dan and Leo very much so did almost come to blows. That poor man Dan did love him some Piper, but his love was no match for magical struggle love. So Piper chooses Leo. But do you think they get to be happy together finally? No. Piper decides she thinks she knows the magical council of wizarding dictators better than their longtime servant Leo does. She becomes convinced she gonna get them to let her and Leo be together. So she demands that Leo take her up to the heavens with him to meet the elders and demand they let them be together. And the elders said, bitch, no, and put her ass on probation and booted them back to Earth. But Piper and Leo, of course, keep trying to make fetch happen. And they decide that if they get married, the elders will have to respect it because holy matrimony.
Who said that?
And the elders was not having it. But after they eventually kill a bunch of fucking demon and warlocks and all kind of things, the elders say, fine, shit, whatever, you could get married. And even then, it still took these multiple failed wedding attempts to get married. Talk about an omen. But they do get married, and the elders are finally okay with them being together. So now they can be happy, right? No. Once they're married, they fight nonstop about having children, whether they'd have magic in their children's lives, and pretty much anything else they could fight about. They fight so much Piper be blowing shit up. But they do end up having kids. And what did they do all throughout the pregnancy? Fight. And if that wasn't bad enough, we know how ass their marriage and life together is because one of their children, Chris, eventually comes from the future to stop their other child, Wyatt, from becoming the evil that destroys the world. Talk about great parenting. And Chris hates this Leo for being an absent piece of shit father because this Leo became an elder, which not only meant he was barely around for his children or his wife, his mentor Gideon is the was trying to kill his son Wyatt in the future and turned him evil, requiring their son Chris to come back in time to stop this shit from happening. And listen, if that all sounds confusing and stupid, it's because it is. Charm goes down the fuck south after they kill Prue off, and I'm telling you, it goes totally off the rails after, I want to say, season 4, season 5, around there. Whenever it is that they started giving Alyssa Milano too much control behind the scenes, I'm getting off topic. The point is that we literally know that Leo is at minimum an absent father and husband to Piper and his kids, whether we love him or understand and sympathize with why that was or not. And when he was there, he and Piper rarely got along. And even after Chris comes back from the future and saves Wyatt from becoming evil and all that nonsense, Leo can't even cope with the knowledge that it was his mentor that betrayed him and was trying to kill his son. So he goes off the deep end, starts basically being a drunk ass white lighter running around killing people and wilding out because he's a real company man. He needs something to believe in. Without his belief in the elders, he fell apart. So he's fell so deeply apart that Piper eventually has to leave this and they do get back together and the show concludes with them staying together or whatever, but what kind of life is this? Piper would have been better off telling Dan she was a witch and trying to have some kind of life with him. At least Dan's mentor wouldn't have been trying to kill her son. He would have been around, and he would have likely been on the same page about her wanting to keep magic out of their kids' lives when they were young. Piper and Leo love each other down. There is no doubt about that. But they were rarely happy together. And that's why they are the perfect example of when love just isn't enough. To all my longtime fans who love my cat Raheem, and I think some of y'all even love Raheem more than me, child, but to all of y'all, you can finally get your own Raheem plushie. I partnered with U2s to do a limited drop, so you have until March 11th to get your own. They are so cute, and honestly, they're actually really fucking big. A nice good old big Raheem head. They're so cute. Get your own, and when you do, please tag me when you get yours. Y'all should subscribe to the Patreon. I put, for the people who want to hear me doing all my cursing, we put the uncensored versions of every recap on the Patreon. So do that.